Episode 75 of Keep It 100 is a bit of a get off my lawn kind of post. However, it's important. Write it down. I'm going to go into the science of why and how recalling facts and recollecting information is way more effective when you actually write it down. We've got phones and it's important to take notes, and we've got phones and we can archive things with photos and voice text and everything else. But I want to literally talk about what it means to write something down. The reason I learned this, two people especially stand out in my journey professionally. First one's Dennis Cordero. He's the guy who sat with me probably for thousands of hours, editing and challenging me to be better and pulling all-nighters and tweak this and and I was like, it's good enough. And he really taught me good enough is not okay. He used to work with Gloria Stefan and her crew at high level at doing really impressive editing for big time concerts and shows. And he just wouldn't let me acquiesce and give up the good to great details. And one of the things he would always show me is he'd give me notes after an edit. You sit down, you cut the pieces together and you say, okay, take a look at the piece and be like, okay, you want to change that font, the kerning's here. You got to mix the audio better here. You got to, no problem. I would get those notes. It was awesome. I would make the edits, and then he'd look at version 2, and he'd look at it and be like, you didn't change that one thing. Well, you did change that, but you didn't change that one thing. And that was when he told me, write it down. I don't want to come back in here and re-give you notes, which is super clear and super helpful. And later in my life, because I didn't learn that lesson very well, my boy Dave Bakalik, when we were at the Columbus Blue Jackets, did the same thing. I would do an edit and he would say, write it down. And we would be concepting ideas and I'd be like, oh yeah, that's cool. And be like, where's your pen and paper? Write it down. And I thought it was like, oh, come on, man. This is all, you're being annoying. But the truth is I would forget things. And you just do when you don't write it down. So thank you to Dave. Thank you to Dennis for teaching me that lesson. And to this day, I still, if I got to clip my nails, I write it down. If I got to pick up milk, I write it down. I have lists all over the place. It looks borderline serial killer-ish. However, I don't forget stuff because it's written down. And that's not even true. I forget stuff all the time, but when it's written down, I can go look at it and pull back. Here's the science behind this. Does writing help when you write down notes in remembering things? A recent study by researchers at Princeton and UCLA found that there are definite links between handwriting notes and committing them to memory. The act of writing requires the brain to be an active participant in the note-taking process. Typing does not. We love typing. We love texting, all that. It doesn't sink in the same. This makes a huge difference when it comes to retaining the information. Rereading your handwriting triggers memories of the information having been processed before. Rereading typed notes is more akin to seeing the information for the first time as far as how your brain processes these things. We live in a world where speed and convenience is often equated to quality. But when it comes to typing versus handwritten notes, it turns out that the traditional way of doing things, get off my lawn, improves your retention of the material, which boosts your ability to learn with less need for review and study. So in a way, it makes us a lot more efficient by writing it down. This is ultimately a more efficient process, even though the process of note-taking itself can be more time-consuming. As I wrap this up, the recent study in Frontiers in Psychology monitored brain activity in students taking notes and found that those writing by hand had higher levels of electrical activity across a wide range of interconnected brain regions responsible for movement. You can see why I had to write this down. The movement, the vision, the sensory processing, and memory. The physical act of writing by hand can benefit creativity by stimulating the flow of ideas. So you're more creative, you can retain information better, and you keep your bosses happy. Make notes, write it down. It helps. And it may help you create even more happy. Thank you for watching.